Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Matthew, and I'm gathered here today at Bowers Machine Parts with Carly, Courtney, Mason, Dana, Rael, and Rachel. Unfortunately, Ryan was not able to be here today, but today we're going to be discussing some of the challenges we've been facing due to the recent shift in leadership from Jack to Helen Bowers. The goal of this meeting is to discuss the different problems we've encountered and to brainstorm some possible solutions that'll restore trust and productivity in the workplace. It's going to be vital that we use our time wisely to engage in a focused and efficient discussion. So without further ado, would someone like to go ahead and give a brief overview of the case we'll be discussing?
All right, so it looks like we're going to be talking about the machine parts, Bowers Machines parts. They've been having a lot of management issues that have been causing them to have lower production and higher turnover rate. It looks like the current CEO took over from her father and just implemented a lot of changes going forward that haven't gone over very well with the rest of the company.
Right. And team communication is pretty much non-existent at this point as well in the company because some of the higher managers don't even trust Helen.
Also, general company employee morale seems to be quite on the down because, I mean, she's taking even the supposed extracurricular activities away. She took the softball field away. And I mean, maybe that was a stress relief for the employees. So that's got to be impactful with stress, and that's not helping.
And also
Right. And
shortening their lunch breaks in time that also affected with
I was literally about to say that same thing.
I also think there's a lack of alignment between like Helen's aggressive expansion goals and like the company's actual performance. I think she moved too quickly without making the proper adjustments beforehand.
And that's even resulted in some increased turnover and then some decreased production levels as well, which in turn also leads to lack of trust within the workplace.
Yeah, adding to that lack of trust, she also blatantly asked like a respected member of the company for help and advice and then completely ignored that help and advice after it was pretty publicized to the rest of the employees that she went to him for help.
Yeah.
Which definitely jeopardizes the employees' overall faith and trust in her, and that she will actually take them seriously.
Right. And that kind of brings us to the problem identification. So if one of y'all want to start with that.
So I think the overarching problem here that we really need to work to solve is how to just make better company culture here so that we can decrease or I guess increase the production levels, get employees more engaged and build back that trust. Would you guys agree, disagree?
Right. I definitely agree. And despite there being, I think there was a 20-year veteran manager there, and despite all his years, he doesn't trust Helen at all. So I think a lot of the morale issues is causing production to drop. And when the production is plummeting rather than increasing because of poor leadership strategies and communication issues, something needs to be done.
Yeah, you can't really dispute that evidence as part of that, of like, you know, what's causing the problem. Also, when you look over the reporting, um, if you look around the time that Helen took over, what the production levels were there versus what we have now, and just like the general negative trend that's been following, you can just kind of see that it's as the policies have been taken away or changed for the worse, people just weren't as committed to being, you know, their 100% best self at work.
Well, that, and also, I mean, she took their voice away completely. They have no confidence in her. I dare I say even that they're scared of her. Like, she has made it to where they can't approach her. She's taken sole responsibility of the company and sole decisionship of everything. That, I mean, wouldn't, in my experience, when employees don't have an input of the final product or the process, they tend to lose initiative because they lose ownership and pride of what they do.
So moving on to some criteria for for solving some of these problems. I think a main one's got to be that these solutions need to improve employee engagement and overall morale to have a more positive work environment.
Agreed.
Agreed.
I
And then I
agree.
also think that instead of Helen being the main source of like the person who is making all the decisions, she should employ a team, whether that be the managers that are already there. And then the managers are the ones who kind of talk about and like make the decisions. And then it gets run by her and other members like at the team, not just her herself.
So I guess to
Perhaps-
sum it up, you could say, for the notes at least, for the criteria, increase engagement on decision making, or like increase perspectives participating in engage or decision making.
And I would also suggest more of a democratic approach to it. So where it's this team was going to be morely like a board of trustees, like individuals who have been with the company, maybe have been or a bit of a layover from her father's time, that know the old ways, that can maybe hopefully turn things back around, but also allow it to where the other employees still have a say in a matter along with the board of trustees. Like make it a multiple step, like it has to go through the employees, it has to go through the board of trustees, and then finally like these are the options presented, instead of having Helen make just the sole decision.
I agree with the idea, but I don't think that would fit into criteria if we're going to be that granular. So make sure that we're still in the right phase. I think the last criteria we can go ahead and add to this is just cost effective, because whatever we're doing, you know, at the end of the day, we're still a business. We need to make a profit to be able to stay in business. So whatever we implement to try and fix this, we have to keep that in mind.
And we also want to increase production as well.
Yes.
Right. So with all that criteria established, we can kind of get into some of the solutions. And one that I thought of when looking at this problem was for Helen to like maintain business ownership or whatever, but actually step down as a decision maker and maybe promote someone within the company that's trusted, or maybe a board or committee. Like Rachel said earlier, that could be propped up and make decisions, and that would build trust between the employees instead of Helen herself making the decisions.
Yeah, I also think that she needs to work more collaboratively with her group and her managers and employees that she has in her decision-making process. She's kind of just micromanaging everyone, but not considering everyone else's expertise and insights in any of her decisions.
Would you say that that's a separate solution altogether, or just a continuation of the first solution?
I feel like that could be a little bit
That would be actually
separate.
separate in a way. Yes, it implies that yes, Helen should step down. That designation of authority is a separate step, and now we're looking more at Helen internally. Like, okay, she needs to improve her own personal leadership skills. Whether I don't know if we can necessarily recommend some form of counseling for her and or a leadership training course that she would be responsible for reporting to the board of trustees that are appointed to run the company, so that they can help monitor and improve and carry her to the leadership potential she has.
I think another way we could do this is like implement regular meetings where Helen can like collaborate and engage in decision-making processes with like other leadership members.
Yeah, definitely add that to the notes, but we should move on to the next.
Right. And so with all those solutions that we brought to the table, which one would you guys say or think is the best for this particular issue?
I think when you evaluate all the criteria, Helen stepping down and promoting a tenured employee would be the best one. If you have somebody that's promoted from within, it would increase the morale because they're having someone that they feel is a part of their community. They, you know, allowing the team to make decisions. I'm sure whoever is brought in is going to lean on their peers a little bit more than Helen would have. What other criteria do you guys think fits for that solution?
With also bringing the fun back, I think her taking away the extra stuff as in the softball field and things like that, she kind of is missing in with the family style that they had with the workers feeling comfortable. She's taking away their comfortability. So I feel like that too as well. With shortening breaks and all that.
And
like
At least check with definitely need to check with OSHA to see if she can even legally shorten their breaks like that, because that's not okay for anyone really.
And with a tenured employee, like getting promoted like that, they will know kind of the culture and what everyone comes to expect is good for their company, and like what would actually increase production a lot better than someone like Helen would.
Correct. And someone who would know maybe the proper union reps to report to and get feedback from as well, whereas Helen would not.
Yeah, for the last decreasing cost portion of criteria, I think this would also fit just because, Helen did come from the business in a different capacity than this tenured employee probably did. So Helen being more privy to all of the financial, things that were going on, she probably may have inflated her own salary a bit, where whoever is the internal promote, we can kind of move forward with just a standard percentage increase in their salary instead of like, just matching what we had. That way we're not like increasing our costs.
Well, also with Helen stepping down, we're going to actually increase production back, and we're going to decrease costs because we won't have as much waste of product due to mess ups, accidents, from poor morale from employees.
Right. And that kind of brings us to our conclusions of what we overall think about the problem and solution.
Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna finish up the meeting with our conclusion. I think it's very clear what needs to happen. Helen does need to step down, reevaluate some of her choices, and just kind of let other people take on what needs to happen to further help the company. I want to thank you all for coming today. I appreciate you all taking the time out of your day. And after we discuss this with Helen, I think we can probably establish another meeting in a month or so to reevaluate the behavior and find another solution if needed.
Sounds good.
Well said.
Woohoo.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
See you at the water cooler.